Hey folks, welcome to my channel Number Pen. There we have the problem on the screen. Differentiate the following: y equals x square plus 1 into cube root of x square plus 2, right? So looks like we have a product of two functions, and I see one is a quadratic expression, the other expression x square plus 2 is also a quadratic expression, but it is sitting inside the cube root, right? Looks like we may be able to simplify this by substitution method. And what is that substitution I will have to make? In this problem, I have an opportunity to eliminate the cube root from y, right? And what is that substitution I'll have to make? And why am I actually doing this? Because it will simplify my problem, right? Because what happens is when you're attempting to solve a problem which has complex expression, it is always better to get rid of the complex expression, treat it separately, and solve for it, right? So that makes it a lot more simpler, and then uh, you're also less prone to errors, right? So what is that substitution that I can make, right? And I know that it's a little difficult to immediately guess what is that substitution that we'll have to make, but as you start solving more and more problems in this particular category, you will easily be able to figure that out, right? So I have an x squared plus 2, and then I also have an x squared plus 1 outside, right? So what is that substitution that will help me get rid of the cube root, right? So here we go. I do the usual substitution that I make before we actually apply the chain rule is u equal to g of x, right? Where we identify the g of x and reduce y to an expression in terms of u, whose derivative we are quite familiar from first principles, right? So here I'm going to do a slightly different substitution because remember we'll have to get rid of the cube root like what we spoke earlier. So what is that substitution that I can do? I'm going to make a substitution as u cube equals square plus 2. Right? So this is the substitution I'm going to make. U cube equals x square plus 2. And so what happens to my y? Can I express my y in terms of u now and make it a lot simpler than what it looked like originally in the expression, right? The answer is yes. So if my x square plus 2 equals u cube, what is my x square plus 1, right? My x square plus 1, I'm going to write it like this: x square plus 2 minus 1, right? And then I still have a cube root here, right? So this is what I have done. I have not changed anything. I've represented my x square plus 1 as x square plus 2 minus 1. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and replace my x square plus 2 with u cube, right? So let's do that in the next step. So my y becomes equal to x square plus 2 is nothing but u cube minus 1. And then I have a cube root of u cube, right? And what is that? My cube root of u cube is nothing but a cube root of u cube is nothing but u, right? So this is what I have post substitution of x square plus 2 equals u cube. And let's move to the next step. And what is my y now? My y is u cube minus 1 into u, right? And what is that equal to? That becomes equal to u to the power 4 minus u, right? So now I have my y in terms of u, and just take a look at this expression. It look looks a lot more simpler than our original expression, right? And this is why we made the substitution u cube equals x square plus 2, because I will be able to get rid of my cube root from the derivative, right? Now, after making this substitution, right, we know what we will have to do. The famous chain rule comes into play, right? So, what is my dy by dx? My dy by dx equals dy by du into du by dx, right? Dy by du into du by dx, right? And where do we go for our dy by du and du by dx? We know our y in terms of u. We have our u in terms of x, right? So I'm going to go back to the previous expressions and do the differentiation with respect to u and that of u with respect to x, right? So what is my dy by du? I'm going to differentiate this, and this is quite a familiar one for us. You might want to recall d by dx of x to the power n equals nx to the power n minus 1. So what happens to my u to the power 4? It becomes a 4 times u cube, right? 4 times u cube minus 1 is my dy by du. So let's highlight it. Uh, so it is a 4 u cube minus 1, right? So let me highlight it using a color. Let me highlight it using yellow and then also mark my dy by du as yellow, right? And then let's go to our du by dx, where it gets a little different from some of the uh, problems we have solved in the past. In the earlier problems, we used to do a substitution of u equals g of x. In this problem, uh, the substitution that we have made is u cube equals x square plus 2. So how do I arrive at my du by dx? All that I will have to do is differentiate on either side, right? So what do I get? My u cube. What is my u cube with respect to x? I mean, the derivative of u cube with respect to x is nothing but 3 times u square, right? We will solve problems of this type, and I just wanted to pick this as an example so that you get familiar with solving problems by making these kind of substitutions, which is slightly different from some of the earlier problems that we have seen. So 3u square into du by dx, right? What am I actually doing here? I'm still applying d by dx of x to the power n formula to solve this particular du by dx, right? Just that instead of writing u equals cube root of x square plus 2, I have written it as u cube equals x square plus 2, and I have done a differentiation on either side, right? So what happens to my x square plus 2, which is on the right? My x square plus 2, d by dx of that becomes 2x plus 0, right? Why is that? Again, an application of the d by dx of x to the power n formula, right? So this is what I have. I have 3u square du by dx equal to 2x, right? Now, how do I get my du by dx from this particular expression, right? All that I will have to do is move my u square to the denominator. Du by dx equals 2x divided by 3u square, right? 2x divided by 3u square. And then again, you still notice that I don't have my answer in terms of x. I will have to convert everything in the form of x, right? So what is my u square? So if my u cube is x square plus 2, what is my u square? My u square is, let me pull out my brackets, because my u is cube root of x square plus 2, and therefore my u square is cube root of x square plus 2 into 2, which is nothing but x square plus 2 the whole power 2 by 3, right? So this is my du by dx, right? So I'm going to highlight this in green. Folks, when we solve the problem using this substitution, right, I could have always substituted u equals x square plus 2 and then gone ahead and solved the problem. I wouldn't have been able to eliminate the cube root, and you would be seeing cube roots everywhere, when we solve for dy by du and du by dx, right? So here I bring in the cube root only in the last step, right? So it makes it less error prone. That's what I actually mean. Otherwise, you are always free to pick up any method which you are comfortable with. So with this, we will move to our final step where we are now familiar with what we need, which is my dy by du and du by dx. So I have my dy by du, which is nothing but my yellow expression, right? Which is 4u cube minus 1. So I pull that out and I copy it into what is my other expression, which is du by dx, which is the one which is highlighted in green. I pull that out. I get 2x divided by 3 times x squared plus 2, the whole power 2 by 3. But folks, again, you have one final step here. My final answer has to be in the form of x. So what do? I go back, I substitute my u cube in the form of x, right? So my u cube is nothing but x squared plus 2. So this is what I get. So my 4 times x squared plus 2 becomes 4x squared plus 8. And then I have a minus 1. So my final answer is nothing but 4x squared plus 7 into 2x divided by 3 times x squared plus 2, the whole power 2 by 3, right? Let me remove the color, folks. And let me highlight it by a different color. So this is my final answer. I'm going to call it by pink. 4x squared plus 7 into 2x divided by 3 times x squared plus 2, the whole power 2 by 3, right? I hope you found my content useful. Please do subscribe to my channel and support. Thank you.